So this is LaserDRW. I'm going to take you through it as fast as I can because I hate like 20-minute videos that only needed 45 seconds to explain something. So this is LaserDRW. This is called your laser out layout right here. This is an actual object to be cut out. When you click laser out layout, you can set the size of this in millimeters as well as a margin. Then when you engrave, and the reason that's important is that when you engrave, you can move where you want to cut around on your laser bed. But if this box is larger, so if this were the whole laser cutter, you can only move it a little bit. So by keeping the laser out layout as small as possible, it gives you more flexibility when positioning your cut. So you can draw stuff, you can import from EMF files, whatever you want to do. This is engrave. Of course, before you can even do this, you need to have set up the device initialization, which I'll show in another video. So anyways, once you're ready to cut, you click on this little engrave button and you get a bunch of options here. Rotate, my guess is that rotates the cut. I don't know, but that's a good guess. And then you have style. This is where the important stuff happens. You can engrave, you can cut, and you can mark. If you do engrave, the laser will turn on everywhere there is not a line. So where there's a line, no burning will happen. Cutting, it's only where there is a line. Marking is similar to engraving in that the laser head goes back and forth and back and forth and back and forth like a printer, but it's more like cutting because it only burns where there is a line. So engraving and marking are both where it goes back and forth and turns the laser on and off. Cutting is where it just follows the path of the line. I almost use cutting exclusively because I'm building stuff, not art. Speed, this is where you set the speed. For engraving, you can move it pretty fast, 40 millimeters a second. My laser kind of loses precision when I go above 60. For cutting, it depends on the material, 1/8 inch, 13, 15, 16 millimeters a second. I find at 60 millimeters a second, sometimes I get cuts that didn't quite go all the way through in some places. When you get to thick material like 1/4 inch, you got to slow way down. I've been able to cut 1/4 inch at like 8 millimeters a second, but that was really rare, and I have no idea why it worked one time and usually doesn't. So 1/4 inch, usually I slow down to 6 millimeters a second, which leaves an awful cut. Join gap. When you import files, for whatever reason, LaserDRW doesn't always do the vector correctly, and there'll be gaps in the vector drawing. Don't know why. They're not there in Inkscape. They are in LaserDRW. So what join gap does is whenever it computes the path for the laser to cut, if there's a gap in the line smaller than this amount, it will join it together. So if this number is very small, sometimes when I import from Inkscape, the laser will pulse on and off because it keeps thinking there's little gaps. So 0.1 millimeter is usually plenty. Frame, rectangle, I'm not sure what this does. Refer, this is pretty simple. Down here where you're positioning your cut, you can put it on center, and then as you drag it around, the crosshairs are on the center, and the refer X, Y are relative to the center of the piece instead of the top left. So this is top left. You'll see we get to 4 millimeters X, 7 millimeters Y. Do not back. What this means is when the cut is finished, the laser head will not return to home if you have do not back checked. The reason you would not want it checked is that this software actually supports a task queue for the laser cutter, and if that box is checked between tasks, it will not rehome the laser. So what happens is, let's say you have 5 of these scheduled to cut. It's going to cut the first one. Let's say it stops right here in the middle. That means the next one, it's going to start right there. And they're just going to keep creeping all the way down. And because these K40 lasers are really cheap and they really have no idea how big they are, it'll try to cut way out of bounds, and you'll hear your servos going, and making horrible noises, and you think the world's going to end. Method, all layers, dialog. I saw a video that explained this, and this is pertinent if you are using Corel Draw. Then all layers versus dialog does something specific. You can find the video. I don't use Corel Draw. Laser head step by. This little section here is purely as you push the arrow keys, it moves the cut in your workspace a different amount, and the laser head will move at the same time while you do this. Add tasks. So now once you have everything set up, the join gap, the speed, you have cutting, inside. I pretty much always recommend inside first. Maybe I'll cover that in a different video. Click on starting, it'll start the laser cutter. Optionally, you can click on add task, and that will add this task to the task queue. And then you can change parameters, add another task, change parameters, add task, open a different file, add a task. And then when you click starting and click add a task, it'll actually start the task queue. Pretty simple, pretty easy. When the laser cutter finishes a task, if there's more tasks in the task queue, a little box will pop up saying, "Hey, I'm finished. Do you want me to go on to the next one?" And you click yes after you change your wood or whatever. Up here you have these buttons. You can actually pause the printer, and this becomes a pause button, play button. So stepper motors, when you apply electricity to a stepper motor, it will hold its current position, and then you apply electricity to it in a different way and it'll move slightly. But as long as electricity is applied to it in some way, it really holds the shaft pretty tightly. So when the laser cutter is working with LaserDRW, most of the time the laser head is going to be fixed in a position because those stepper motors have electricity or current flowing through them. What this button does is that tells the laser cutter, hey, turn off power to the stepper motors. I want to be able to move the laser head anywhere I want. So if you need to manually move the laser head for whatever reason, click this button first, and you can move it without it making horrible screeching noises. Reset. Reset is nice and convenient. It tells it to rehome the laser, so the laser is going to go back up to the upper left and then go to the last starting coordinates. Stop. Pretty self-explanatory. If you have multiple tasks queued up and you stop one, the next task will still be there. So this is clear laser task. If the laser is doing things and it just won't stop, push stop, push clear laser task. Hopefully it'll all be okay. If all else fails, restart. These buttons don't do much of anything. And anti-counterfeit texture, anti-counterfeit lines, I have no idea what they are yet. Don't know how to use them. If somebody knows, comment and let me know. That would be awesome, and I'll publish a new video. Thanks.